memories with us. And actually, it's really lovely from this end to see your face lighting up as you're talking about your memory, the smiles on your faces. And also hearing about, you know, and actually just in that brief time, learning quite a little bit about you in that way. And, you know, you won't be surprised to hear they're sort of using that kind of idea of the 3 Ps to try and have, you know, make connections with people, get to know people really. And we're so used to, aren't we, in our professional roles in what we normally do, sort of going straight into that professional part. But actually, you know, one of the things we've really worked on is spending as much quality time on the personal side as on the professional side, really. In any of the sort of things or activities that we're doing. So really quickly, Caring to Learn is an initiative which we developed in Lincolnshire since 2018, and it started off as a research project, and it's now, I'm really pleased to say, embedded in kind of practice ongoing, really. But its main focus was to look at how to support all the people who are the team around our children in care, really, and how by doing that we can improve the outcomes of our children in care, which, as you may know, in the UK and probably worldwide as well, really, children in care, you know, their outcomes they don't do as well in many ways and for many reasons. So we had a wide-ranging remit to work with across our children's services here in Lincolnshire. I have an education background. I was a teacher and head teacher in schools, and other members of my team came from more social care side as well. But so working alongside the fostering and residential care teams within our local authority, the virtual school who support the education, obviously working directly with schools and education settings, early years settings. Really was a very wide remit to work in a way that we would see those long-term outcomes improve. So it was based on some fabulous research from Claire Cameron at UCL, who people in social pedagogy community, you know well, and some of the work from UCL in its early stages, and sort of built on this idea of when school and home and services work really communicate and work on an equal basis together as part of a really, you know, effective team, that this is where we can gain the best success for our children. And we sort of coined this term, the Trine of Success, when all those 3 areas are working closely together, instead of in the kind of silos, as sometimes we, even well-meaningly, we try and do. We still work in parallel rather than together. But also that they all have equal importance. So that was something we really had to focus on, and make sure, you know, the home and carers and foster carers had that equal status as to what we originally people would be referred to as professionals and carers, you know, and we tried to cut that out and said, no, we're all experts in our own arena, really. So we want to work in an equal basis. And we had this 3-pronged attack. So with our Caring to Learn award, which is really a good practice framework, how do we do this well? And we've described that in 2 toolkits for schools, for in the home, and for in education. A learning and development programme, and a really wide-ranging support network that really offered people the support they needed to do the best jobs they could. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And within that, we had a sort of, again, a wide-ranging approach, but we drew together some of the practice models that we were already using within the local authority, and sort of theoretical backgrounds, and pulled together this in what, again, we've called our cornerstones of good practice. So within our safeguarding, overarching safeguarding approach, which is in Lincolnshire Signs of Safety, social pedagogy, a real cornerstone of that. But alongside that, restorative practice, and more recently, perhaps over the last 2.5 years, really with a focus on really good trauma-informed practice. And so how we brought those kind of things together to be a coherent approach to support in that. So I won't read all this out, but what I want to talk about today is how we kind of achieve. We were doing some fabulous activities. We've been running since January 2018, and we're really kind of taking off with our engagement and involvement from all of our partners. And we were starting to think how we could embed some of the ways of working we developed ongoing for the future. But then, of course, COVID hit, and the pandemic and the lockdown in the UK from March the 23rd, which kind of effectively saw close schools as they were closed. I mean, obviously they were still open to a lot of children going in, and teachers were still teaching, but in a completely different way. Carers became isolated. All our activities were all, meetings and training and workshops and social groups and all those kinds of things, and they kind of went by the wayside. So we quickly had to work out how we were going to do this and how we were going to move on. But we did face some issues to begin with, probably the same as you all encountered, really. The sort of technology, and we quickly, I know in Lincolnshire, I can praise them because our local authority responded really quickly with the technology, rushed these things in. So we were all had access, first of all, to Zoom and to Teams and to our equipment, updated laptops and all that kind of thing that would work, webcams, whatever we needed, so we could move that. But of course, we had the technology. Did we know how to use it? No. Probably not as well as we should have done, and that took a bit of adjustment. There was also the fear of technology, not from us, not just from us and from sort of staff members and people who were sort of helping to facilitate things, but also from the people we wanted to join in these activities. So predominantly our foster carers. A large percentage of those were kind of, what is this all, again, in the same way that probably all of us have experienced it. What is all this and how do I do with that? And I've not been on Zoom before. And very interestingly, we came across a lot of people from our staff members, social workers, school staff who became very self-conscious on camera. And I think it's something to do with you can see yourself while you're talking, isn't it? And when you said today we're recording this session, I was immediately, oh my goodness, I'm going to be, frozen on a video forever. And so that kind of self-consciousness on camera actually did play a big part, and was really interesting for how children sort of came with that feeling, certainly how adults came with that feeling, definitely. Constantly being told it's not the same as face-to-face, even though we're kind of here, you're there, we're still communicating, but it's not the same, as if our actual proximity is the most important thing. And that, people can't connect in the same way. I think, again, for myself, there is a learning curve there, isn't there? And you find yourself, we've all got used to interrupting each other a lot more because we can't always get exactly the same cues as when someone else is going to speak, or whether they're going to reply, or whether there's a delay in their Wi-Fi and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, that kind of connecting people, came back at us. They didn't feel that same sense of connection. And for instance, if you've done any amount of training or any of those kinds of things, when you do that in a room with a group of people, whether you're sat in a circle or tables or whatever, the people are there in front of you. So you can see whether they're interested, they're paying attention, they are checking their emails at the same time, all those kinds of things. Whereas, and please don't take this is no judgment on anyone here today, but I've stared back at 20 black boxes, with names of them, and sort of said, oh, if anybody wouldn't mind just popping the camera on, that's really helpful. It's really lovely to see a real face, and those kinds of things. And then also knowing, because I've done it myself on the other end of the camera, it's so easy, isn't it, to think, right, that's going on in the background, and I'll just do some other work, or I'll answer my emails, or I'll, So there's all those things that you kind of are added into the mix of what you're trying to do when you're trying to work in this way. So we had some really big questions we wanted to ask each other. I've just seen the time. Oh my goodness, it rushes so quickly. I'll have to speed up and talk very quickly. How do we ensure relationships come first? How did we continue to create that community of support that we were, you know, we'd really made some good progress with, and we didn't want it to fall by the wayside? How do we continue to create belonging? We had new foster carers were all being approved at the same time, new schools coming in to work with us, new staff members, all those kinds of things. How did we create that sense of belonging that we want to do with which is why we've kind of created this brand, I suppose, a kind of identity of Caring to Learn that people hopefully feel part of. And how did we continue that? And how did we create real opportunities to come together and connect for people? So you know, we talk about this thing of modeling the model. We want to work in the way that we're asking other people to work with our children, with our school staff members working together, our fostering community, our residential children's homes, all those kinds of things. So we wanted to model the model, and I suppose our Altum came out of linking with some of our other cornerstones, this idea of restorative practice, the social discipline window. I've just put a little graphic on there of this idea of, you know, working with high support but high challenge for people, and being in that green box is the kind of ultimate, the ideal, isn't it? Working with. And we often revert to, in times of stress, or going back to our kind of fallback stance, we might want to do to people, you know, or do for them, but actually we want to really stay within that, certainly keep out that red box, definitely. So how are we going to help people continue to feel that we were with them, we were alongside them, and we were supporting them, we were challenging them to, you know, improve their practice and do better, and be more resilient and all those kinds of things? But how could we continue to do that? Clearly the learning zone came into this, you know, ours are our own learning zone, and that of our participants and the people we were working with. And, you know, and sometimes we had people moving towards that red zone, or people just wouldn't join a meeting. You know, if we could get them over the threshold of pressing that Zoom link, we felt we could have them, whether they were on the phone or the iPad or the, you know, whatever it was. Even if they joined with their camera off and their sound off and they didn't say a thing, we felt we'd made a small connection and we could build on that. But if we couldn't get them to even join the thing, you know, how were we going to move forward? That was a tough one. And clearly this common third, finding things that people wanted to connect over, you know. And again, of course we want them to learn, grow and develop, but it couldn't just all be about, you know, that tough stuff. So our relational universe had to grow, and our support network and the one we were offering to people. So we had this kind of support hub that we call that, and our Facebook groups, we already had that in place, but, you know, and it was fairly active, but how could we grow that? We made this community magazine, which people contributed to. But one of the biggest things that was so effective were WhatsApp groups, and they seemed so frivolous and sort of, you know, not deep at all, but actually we saw some of the most amazing connection going on there. And when people, you know, at midnight, when had such a tough day with a looked after child, a foster carer would just pop a comment in there, is anyone there, you know, I've had such a tough day, and immediately people would connect with them and support them in the way that they needed, and listen to them, and all those kinds of things. So, you know, really you know, say enough about what those WhatsApp groups did. And I really, at this point, my message, my sort of mission is to make sure everybody, you know, within my local authority, I mean, knows the importance of those. They cost us nothing, and they give so much support to people. And, you know, we just need a bit of time to be in them, stimulate them, sometimes monitor them. Of course, Zoom became our best friend, and we had all these meetings and everything was on Zoom or on Teams. We tried to avoid that because in the early stages it was terrible. It's better now, but it was really rubbish, the first versions of that we used, so we stuck with Zoom. And also it's very accessible, isn't it? So yes, socials. We even had our big carers fostering service award, and that's a picture of me with I bought a sequin backdrop and put, you know, we all put fancy clothes on and suits, and we had an award ceremony over Zoom to try, you know, and actually it was really effective. And we have foster carers who were receiving long service awards or special mentions, all kinds of things, you know, came on Zoom with shirts and ties and jackets and their best dresses and things like that. We tried to do that, really. So just a last couple of slides about impact. You know, over this lockdown, our Facebook group more than doubled. We had about 300 members from schools, children's services and foster care, and now we've got 701 today, and it really grew in the first couple of months and then has grown steadily since. We've now got 6 WhatsApp groups, and they have between 16 and 50 members for different focuses. Monthly and fortnightly social groups for carers and for children as well. Our children, we have a teen group and we have a younger children's group, and they can meet, have met new people, communicated with people they never have before. We've delivered training and workshops to over 2,000 people, and that is more in the last 12 months. That's more than in the previous 2 years. So again, although people say they don't like it, they come on it. It's convenient for them. They access it, and they've come back and done other things as well. And I'm really pleased to say that our sort of service after is commissioned or has been installed or has been agreed. It was always a time limited sort of project initiative, and it's now been agreed on a permanent basis by LCC, so I'm over the moon about that, really. But our learning is part of that. How did we bridge that digital divide? Well, we had to learn to get over our own self-consciousness, just be our authentic selves, you know, perhaps switch our own little camera off in the corner and just be ourselves, and sometimes let our emotions show and others will follow, and try and sort of, you know, just really be more relaxed and informal, as sometimes people want to be quite formal on camera. It's interesting, isn't it? One of the things we learned, that actually peer support is the most meaningful, particularly for people during challenging times. We can be there and say, oh, well, you know, perhaps come and do this workshop and this, it'll help give you a bit more knowledge on that subject. But actually talking to someone who's been through that, another foster care, another school staff member, another, you know, any of those kind of things has been the most supportive for people, and they've really welcomed that. But actually giving control to others and letting them take the lead. So we now have foster carers who are comfortable, thank goodness, in leading online sessions, and they've done workshops and practice sessions for their social care teams. That's been such a fabulous breakthrough, and letting them rise in that profile and that sort of professional respect from others. And also they're now, you know, handing over to them. They lead our social sessions now, and all kinds of things. Make opportunities just to have fun. We've done everything from bingo, quizzes, online discos, baking, joint baking sessions, any of those kind of, you know, common third activities that can really people want to join with. We're not asking much of them apart from being with us. And then we found, you know, that someone that wouldn't come on a workshop session to learn more about restorative practice or social pedagogy, but did come on a joint art session with their little one, doing some finger painting, you know, and showing it at the screen and things like that, then came on one of our other learning and development sessions. I did have a short video, I can play that, but it's just to some of the things how we did that. But I'd much rather, you know, if there's any questions or something like that of how we've done that. But actually, you know, I can't say COVID is a benefit, but we have found positives from it. It has helped our network develop. It's helped us steer us in different directions that we wouldn't perhaps have thought of immediately. And it has helped build a bigger network for us now, and have more connections within that. I don't know if anybody's got any questions.